Dear student, I am Dr. Harel Thomas, Professor in Applied Geology, Dr. Harisingh, Gour, Vishwavidyalaya, Sagar. Today, I will deliver my lecture on metamorphic rocks and their nomenclature. This topic I will cover under the following heads: Introduction and Common Metamorphic Rocks. Hope it will be useful for you. Try to be regular in course. The names of most metamorphic rocks are based primarily on texture, structure, and mineralogical characteristics. The most striking feature which stamps a rock as a metamorphic in its fabric or structure and texture, which is the foliation or lineation. Therefore, the widely used rock names are schist or gneiss. The group name is also modified by a term which indicates a conspicuous texture. For example, gneiss. The group name can be further modified by the name of the index minerals placed as a prefix to the group name. For example, garnet schist. The name of the index mineral or key mineral indicates a specific condition of metamorphism. If a rock is almost monomineralic, it may be named after the dominant mineral. For example, quartzite dominated by quartz, marble by calcite or dolomite, serpentine almost entirely made up of serpentine, and the like, but most rock contain 3 or more minerals. These minerals are listed with hyphen between them and placed in order of increasing amount. For example, that is model percentage. Before the group name in the given example of garnet, chlorite, hornblende, schist, the mineral hornblende must be in maximum amount than chlorite or garnet. And in cordierite, garnet, sillimanite, biotite, gneiss, biotite is in maximum amount while cordierite is in least amount. While an index mineral indicates a specific metamorphic condition, the abundance of principal metamorphic minerals indicate a rough guide to rock composition. In the two examples in the preceding sentence, the first rock indicates parent of basic composition while the second indicates peltic parents. These criteria are basis of field and or laboratory studies of metamorphic rocks. In other nomenclature, some terms invoke genetic assumption and employ such prefix such as para and ortho, which are used respectively for sedimentary and igneous protolith. Para-gneiss and ortho-gneiss or para-amphibolite and ortho-amphibolite are the term used in this sense, but it is indeed difficult to resolve unless more intensive geochemical studies are undertaken. Hence, the genetic terminology is avoided in naming a rock. If original protolith parent rock is still clearly recognizable, we attach the prefix meta to the rock name. For example, metabasalt, metagranite, metachert, etc. Thus, we see that these are four criteria for naming metamorphic rocks. First, nature of the parent material. Second, mineral assemblages. Third, rock texture. Fourth, any appropriate specific name. On the basis of structural terms and mineralogy, the common name of metamorphic rocks are slate, a very fine-grained rock characterized by slaty cleavage. In the field, a slate can be distinguished from shell by the absence of earthy smell. When we moisten it with our breath, that develops some shell and tend to cleave into thin, flat sheet. Slate is the lowest grade metamorphic rocks that form from a shell parent rocks. Slate is made up of microscopic mica minerals, usually muscovite. These are flat minerals that are aligned parallel to each other. This orientation of the crystal causes slate to break easily in one direction. This property is called slaty cleavage. Shell is made up of clay minerals, and most clay is not very stable under high pressure and temperature. As shell begin to metamorphose, heat and pressure cause the clay mineral to slowly recrystallize into flat mica flakes. Slate breaks in a preferred orientation because the mica cysts are flat and tend to break along the flat direction. During metamorphism, the mica grow with their flat orientation with flat dimension oriented at right angle to the maximum pressure. This process lines all the mica up and gives slate its characteristic cleavage direction. Slaty cleavage is one example of the metamorphic texture called foliation, which means layering. The color of slate depends on the chemical composition of its parent shell or mudstone. Red slates are rich in hematite and iron oxide. Green slates contain a significant amount of chlorite. Purple slate are stained by magnesium oxide, and black slate contain carbon-rich organic material. Phyllite, a fine-grained and very finely schistose rocks that develop from slate, the foliation S surface of which is due to the presence of sericite. The cleavage surface so lustrous seen due to coursing of mica, sericite, muscovite and chlorite. The schistosity may be S-centered by thin segregation, quartz-rich bands which may alter with micaceous band. Phyllite is a low-grade metamorphic rocks consisting mostly of fine-grained micas, but the mica crystal are larger than those in slate and are large enough to be just barely visible to the naked eye. Phyllite typically develop from slate at a temperature around 300 degrees centigrade. Other common minerals found in phyllite beside muscovite includes chlorite, green, graphite, dark gray or silvery, and sometimes garnet, red or brown. The characteristic waxy, layered, glittery texture of phyllite is another example of foliation in metamorphic rocks. Schist, a strongly foliated and commonly lineated rocks which can be easily split up into plates of few millimeter thick. These schists are usually medium to dark colored and consist of lamellar minerals like mica, chlorite, talc, or prismatic minerals like amphiboles and sillimanite. If cysts contain more quartz relative to the sum of the phyllosilicate, which collectively are more than 50%, the rock is called quartz mica cyst. Low modal amount of plagioclase, less than 10%, in cyst distinguish them from gneisses. Cyst is a medium grade metamorphic rocks that can come from a variety of parent rocks, although the most common cysts are from cell parents. This means that they came through a transition from cell to slate to phyllite to cyst. Cyst is characterized by an abundance of coarse mica minerals grain such as muscovite, biotite, and chlorite. The mica grains are large enough to be seen without any magnification. Usually, they can be flacked off with a fingernails. Cyst develops cystose texture, which is similar to phyllatic texture, except that the mineral grains are coarse enough to be seen with the naked eye. Cyst typically shows little or no segregation of minerals into discrete bands or layers. Other metamorphic minerals, especially garnet, are commonly found sprinkled throughout cyst. Greenstone or green cyst. Green color low grade metamorphic rocks dominated by the presence of chlorite, actinolite, and epidote minerals that may show cystose texture or non-cystose texture to qualify the rock as green cyst or greenstone. These rocks form mainly from metamorphism of a basaltic igneous parent rocks and is marked by the presence of chlorite, mica, which give green cyst its characteristic green color minerals. Blue cyst, a metamorphosed mafic rocks containing large quantities of glaucophins, blue amphiboles, and has a pronounced cystosity. Gneiss, medium to coarse grained, foliated metamorphic rocks marked by bands of segregate minerals, usually alternating light and dark colored minerals known as gneiss structure. Gneiss is a high grade metamorphic rocks only forming deep in the crust beneath active mountain chains such as volcanic arcs at subduction zone. Its prime distinguishing feature is gneissic texture formed by segregation of minerals into distinct and commonly colorful bands. It is split parallel to S surface, generally along mica or hornblende layer into plates or blocks of few centimeters. The term is almost exclusively used for rock containing abundant feldspar and quartz. Unlike cyst, the gneiss contain bands that are dissimilar in both texture and mineral composition. A field-based classification is on the basis of alkali feldspar or plagioclase feldspar. For example, 2 mica plagioclase gneiss or muscovite biotite alkali feldspar gneiss. The prefix ortho or para suggests its derivation from igneous or sedimentary parentage. As temperature approaches 500 to 700 degrees centigrade, very hot but below the typical melting temperature of the rock, the mineral in cyst recrystallize and segregate into layers dominated by one mineral types. The extremes of heat and pressure destabilize the more felsic minerals, breaking them down into ions that readily migrate within the rock and recrystallize in distinct light colored Single mineral layers containing large grains of more stable felsic minerals such as quartz or feldspar. Meanwhile, ions free from other minerals such as biotite, amphiboles and pyroxene form intervening layers of dark mafic minerals. This process of mineral separation is known as metamorphic differentiation. The distinct layering of dark and light minerals is referred to as gneissic bending, a striking form of foliated layered texture. When looking at layered rocks in lab or in the field, the certain not to mistaken gneissic bending for layering in sedimentary rocks. These are two very different processes and textures. The two main differences are that sedimentary rocks layers are rarely segregated into separate minerals for each bands, a characteristic of gneiss, and that the texture of sedimentary rock is typically one of individual grains with cement in the spaces, but the interlocking recrystalline texture of gneissic bands. Organelles, gneiss containing abundant porphyroblast or porphyroclast enveloped by the foliation to give the appearance of eyes, organ in German. Granulites, a granoblastic rocks that is rich in quartz and feldspar and almost devoid of hydrous mineral. Lenticular to tabular compositional layering may be present. Granulites are equivalent of acid plutonic rocks, but those containing quartz, perthite, potash feldspar and hypersthene are referred to as charnokites. Amphibolite, a dark colored rock composed principally of hornblende and plagioclase, usually with quartz and epidote foliation due to alignments of amphiboles prism, is less conspicuous than in schist. The qualification ortho and para suggest its derivation from igneous or sedimentary rocks. Eclogite, a dense but rare rock of basaltic composition, whose crystallization at very high pressure and temperature gave rise to an assemblage omphacite, solid solution of diapsite and jadeite mainly, and Mg-rich garnet with no plagioclase. Common accessory minerals are quartz, kyanite, amphibole, geosite and rutile. Hornfels, a very fine grained granoblastic rocks which has a backed appearance similar to a clean fired ceramics. These rocks are dense and compact and flinty looking and form at high temperature and low pressure by contact metamorphism. Granophytes are non-schistose rocks characterized by isotropic granoblastic texture and means grain size more than 0.1 millimeter. If less than 0.1 millimeter, the metamorphic rocks called hornfels. Marble, a crystallized carbonate rocks composed of calcite or less commonly of dolomite. Serpentine, a green, black or reddish rock composed of predominantly of serpentine, antigorite, chrysolite and etc. It's formed by hydration of igneous or metamorphic petrotites, olivine-rich ultramafic rocks. Soapstone, magnesium rocks, a petrotites or dolomitic limestone composed of talc with minor carbonates, chlorite and tremolite like serpentine. The soapstone are also formed by metasomatic alteration of the protolith. Skarn, a granoblastic rock that is rich in calcilicate minerals such as gracilorite, andradite, epidote, diapsite, visuvinite and wollastonite. The small amount of carbonate distinguishes skarn from marble. Skarn formed by SiO2 metasomatism at contact of limestone and igneous intrusive body, usually of granitic composition. Skarn contains trace element of economic importance, molybdenum and other minerals. Quartzite, a monomineralic rock composed predominantly of quartz and so granoblastic texture. Impurities in original protolith sandstone may form aluminous or ferro-magnesium minerals. Migmatite, a megascopically composite rock made up of biotite-rich dark bands and quartz feldspar-rich light band, which appear to have formed either by metamorphic differentiation or by partial melting in high-grade metamorphism. Several types of migmatites are distinguishable depending on the mutual relationship and geomaterial shape of the dark and light bands. Less familiar rocks. Leptinite, used mainly in France, a light color metamorphic rocks consisting of quartz feldspar without mica, but may contain a notable amount of garnet. Leptite, used in Sweden and Finland, a compact fine-grained granular metamorphic rocks of granitic composition. It is composed of quartz and feldspar with subordinate mafic minerals. Presinite, a green schist rich in poikiloblastic assemblies of albite and epidote with or without amphiboles and chlorite. Chondrolite, an almost massive mica poor or free sillimanite garnet quartz feldspar rock, mostly with graphite as accessory mineral. Garnet and sillimanite together exceed feldspar in model amount. Charnockite, a hyperthin granite. Gracen, a neometallitic or metasomatically altered granitic rocks whose feldspar is replaced by mica and often rich in fluor-bearing minerals, zinwaldite, topaz, etc. Phylonite, a intensive sheared phyllosilicate-rich rock occurring in thrust or shear zones. Cataclastic, a cohesive unfoliated fault rock containing angular cast fragments or variable size in fine-grained matrix of similar composition. Note, if a metamorphosed igneous rock is still preserve its original fabric, the prefix meta is used, for example, metabasalt or metadolorite. Dear student, today in this lecture we have discussed about the introduction and common metamorphic rocks. I believe this lecture was useful for you. For further studies, please read the textbooks, references and links given in the text. Thank you very much.